How long have you known that you've wanted to write a book, or just to write in general?
All my life. My earliest memory of writing was I used to use my mother's typewriter, and she would set me up a table in the dining room, and I would type. And my grandmother, actually, my earliest memory is my grandmother coming in, and I'd been typing a story, and I'd laid the pages next to the typewriter. And she came in and she picked up the piece of paper and she was reading it, and she said, what book are you typing this out of? I want to read this book. And I said, Grandma, I'm not typing out of the book. I'm typing a story. So that's my earliest memory of writing. So I've done it forever. You know, just it's something that I enjoy doing. It always inspires me. I just really enjoy writing. And the story of Gracier has been in my head for over 20 years.
Really?
Yeah. I started this whole process when our oldest son was born. He's now 21 years old. And started writing this book. And I would get up at 5 a.m. in the morning and write until he woke up, and then go off to work. And then as we had children and jobs, it kind of got put away, and then I find time to write again. And about 10 years ago, finished up writing the book pretty much, and then started the process probably about, I would guess, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, of trying to get it published. So.
And you said that, you know, this has been 20 years in the process. Where did you come up with the idea?
The original working title was not Gracier.
Okay.
But the whole story and the series goes around people that live in this community called Gracier, Iowa. And they always say, write what you know. And I know what it's like to live in the Midwest. And the story just developed if I just imagine these characters who live in this community, and the story of Jessica McCabe, and coming home after the death of her grandfather. And the story ensues around the murder, mystery, suspense. And when she comes back, she discovers that everything she thought to be the truth about her life is not. So it's that story. And the characters came to me, I could just imagine the community, I could imagine the city. And of course, as you grow up and throughout your life, you think of people and characters, and everyone in here is fictitious, but it still gives you ideas. So as I wrote the story, it developed around her, and there's also romance in it, and a best friend, and then other characters, the bakery owner, the grocery store owners, and then her grandfather, the veterinarian, and then the sheriff, and then a medical doctor who raised her. So anyway, that's kind of where it came from. And so the series just takes off from these characters. So the next book in the series will then shift to another group of characters in the community, another group. So, and we meet some of them in this book. For the next one. So.
And have you started on the second?
The second book is actually probably 80% done.
Okay.
The third book in the series is probably 50% done, and then whatever goes from there. So.
Is this something where you have been kind of thinking all along of how the next book would go? It's not one of those where you end it, go to the next one.
Right. When you read this first book, you'll meet different characters, and then in the next book, then those characters become the main characters in that book, and it just continues on. So as I was writing the book, I would come to really like a certain character. I'd go through stages where, oh, I really like this character, and I think, oh, that's going to be a book about this, you know, or that's going to be a book about this. So yeah, it'll definitely continue.
Do you ever, I know a lot of people think that, you know, when they start writing about certain characters, they're almost like become friends with them, you develop relationships with them.
Yes.
Did that happen with this?
Exactly. It was funny because, you know, in this book, the character that I thought I would really have a passion for, and I do, the lead character, but then I'd go through a phase where Samantha Caldwell, another character in the book, really enjoyed her character, and so she ends up being a part of the next in the book. And then a very, you just see a little bit of him in the book, and he is the bar owner, and in the next book he becomes the main character because he's such a fun character to write about. So, yep.
You said that, you know, this process has been it's taken a while, but you said that, you know, and so 10 years ago you finished writing it, and then you went in the process of publication. How hard was that, or how did you even get into that?
Oh, well, what you will find out if you're a writer, and many writers will say this, publishers want people who are agented, and agents want people who are published. And agents are always looking for the next J.K. Rowling, And so as we went through this process, submitting books, responses would be, love the book, don't have room for it right now, love the book, etc. And then we came to the realization as we started researching that more and more authors nowadays are going about it themselves. For example, the book The Christmas Box by Richard Paul Evans, and the Aragon series by a young man, I can't think of his name, Christopher, I can't think of his last name, that were a children's series. They went through those same struggles, and so they decided that they were going to do it on their own. So in that process, my husband and I own a company, OHP Marketing Services, and we work in the advertising, marketing, promotion field, and came to realize that we do everything a publishing firm does. We just don't, we're not a publishing firm.
Right.
So we started Moon River Publishing, and through that vehicle, we were able to publish the book, Pound a book printer. And you know, with the development of Amazon and ebooks, it's leveled the playing field. You know, it used to be publishing houses pretty much controlled the world on who got published and who didn't, and so it gave us an opportunity to get the book out there.
Okay.
So.
And how hard was it developing Moon River Publishing? I mean, was that a?
It was a process because we wanted to do it right.
Right.
And we established the company and went through the process of, you know, logo design, marketing, and how putting that best foot forward when we rolled out the book. So, and we were very fortunate to find a printer in Minnesota, actually, who we partnered with to get the book out. So.
Okay, and so now where does the process go? I mean, it's a new publishing company. You're going to do an ebook. You have the printed copies. How are you going to market this?
Well, right now we're in the process of, you know, the world of Facebook and social media. We also have a website. You can go to melissarbailey.com, and through that you can link to the Facebook page, you can link to Amazon to purchase the book, either hard copy or ebook, and we also will be doing interviews, we'll be doing radio, and continuing to spread the word with our contacts. So,
do you think that's going to be a hard process?
I'm sure it's going to be, you know, since we do marketing for a living, we know that it's something you've got to tell people, and then tell them again. So that I think we're prepared for because we do it quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's just kind of different doing it for yourself.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, so having this be a process, I mean, has this been worthwhile?
Absolutely.
Is this something you would definitely have done again and do it again and again?
Yes, yes. It's something in my book, in the acknowledgments, I talk about how for writers it isn't a matter of doing it because you have to, it's doing it because you want to. It's like breathing. And I am a person who, whenever I write, I always feel the best. It's something that energizes me. It's something that as long as I can remember, that was who I was.
Right.
And so although it was hard and although it was frustrating and it was a long, long process, it was funny as we walked in here today, how many times I walked in the library and would say, someday I want my book to be there, and now it's here.
So those 5 a.m. in the mornings, I mean, they were a little hard to get started, but after a while it's something you have to do.
Very energized, very energized. You know, people would say, how can you do this? And I would say, you know what, when I get done writing, anytime. And it's funny because I used to come, in the process of writing this book, I would come to Kendall Young Library 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and I'd go into a study carrel, and I wouldn't come out till 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And I'm sure they wondered, what is she doing in there? And because I was working and editing and proofing and working on the book and reworking things, and but you think you would be exhausted, but for me it was energizing.
So if people read Gracier, are they going to be able to see themselves, other people, I mean, like see people in the community, they can see a town in Iowa, this is what it's going to be, because you said, like you said, you write what you know.
Yes. It's interesting because the people who've read this so far, the comments have been, for anyone who reads this and isn't from Iowa, they're going to get a sense of who we are and what we're about, what it's like in small town, from the small things such as going into town on a Saturday night, and even the intrigue and the mystery in describing the areas where things happen. They recognize things and they'll say, oh, that reminds me of the farm I go by. Oh, that reminds me of a park. And so it's been really rewarding for me because I think, okay, am I the only one thinking this? But the response has been, I can see this. That reminds me of that person. That sounds like, you know, something that happened in my childhood. So that's been really rewarding for me because I know that I get to mark hopefully.
So do you think then, okay, so are you excited for this next process? I mean, going to libraries, promoting your book, is it kind of nerve-wracking too?
You know, it isn't, simply because, you know, I thought about that when we started with this process, but I've lived it for so long, I know it like the back of my hand, the book. So talking about it to me, when I've had people ask me questions, one of the people who read the book, it was so fun to see their perspective because they were asking me questions like, oh, so they did that because of this, and oh, why, and making all these connections that you hope they get. And then when you confirm it for them, they're like, oh, I was right, you know. So that's fun to have happen. So I think, although it might be busy, along with working full-time and raising a family, it's exciting because it's something that has been a passion for so long. Just like today, Carrie.